Yo, what is going on, everyone? Today I'm going to be giving you my first impressions review of Call of Duty Vanguard's multiplayer. So, right off the bat, let me just say this video is going to be a lot more positive than my zombies video was because I actually have a lot of good things to say about the multiplayer. I didn't have many good things to say about the zombies. You guys know that. And even after that video, just an update on how I still feel about zombies. I literally tried it one more time and I got so bored within my first 30 minutes, I just stopped playing and I went back to multiplayer. It's so unfortunate that it's that way, but I just can't find much enjoyment in it. There really isn't much to it. I've done everything there is to do, and that's okay. I don't need it to be the greatest thing ever. They're going to add updates to it eventually. I'll just wait for that. Hopefully they listen to the fans and they give us some sort of a traditional round-based like mode with actual good side quests and Easter eggs. And I know that takes time to do, and they don't have all the time in the world to do all this, but they got to give us something because what they have now just ain't it. But we're talking about multiplayer today, and yes, it is going to be more positive than negative because there's a lot of good things about this multiplayer. It's definitely better than the beta. As you guys know, I did not like the beta. I made a video saying I was not a fan of Vanguard's multiplayer from the beta. But they've made tons of improvements, so honestly, I'm enjoying it a lot more, and the full game just feels better in a lot of different ways. That does not mean that it's perfect. That does not mean it's even that good, to be honest, because out of all the Call of Duty multiplayers, this wouldn't even crack my top 5, probably not even my top 7 or something. I don't know it. I can't really say much until I play more of it because I haven't even experienced everything there is to experience, which is good. That means there's a lot of content if I literally haven't even done everything there is to do within the game yet. There's so many maps in this game. I haven't even played all of the maps. There's 2 maps, I think, that I haven't even played yet, and I've played a decent amount. I think I'm like level 40 something now, so that's pretty far. I'm almost already first prestige, and I haven't even played every map yet. That's a good thing. But again, there are a lot of issues that are still there, and I wish weren't the case, but a lot of it I also don't expect to get changed. But we're going to talk about it anyways. So let's start with the positives. First things first, let's talk about the maps, because I was just talking about it before. There's a lot of them, and that's good. But the quantity is not the only important thing. I see people saying that, oh, the fact that it has 16 maps and the other games have less automatically makes it better and stuff. I don't think that's the case. Like, you can have a game with 8 maps at launch like Cold War, and it could still have a better map offering than what Vanguard has. It's all about quality for me, because if you have 16 maps and most of them are bad, then it's a big problem. I'd rather you have 8 maps that are all good than 16 maps where like majority of them are just really bad. But thankfully, in this case, most of the maps are actually pretty good. I don't think all of them are good though. And this is kind of the reason why. They clearly went for a very distinct difference in map design for like all of them, which is good on paper, but that does require them to do some really out there map designs that I don't think work at all, which is why you have 4 or 5 maps in this game that I think are like bad maps. Like Cold War, I didn't really think had many bad maps. I thought all of them were pretty good, but none of them were standout, like different from each other. They all had that same general structure, but it was safe. It was a safe structure. But this, they're definitely playing with some different designs, and that's good for some of the maps, but bad for some other ones. And it's okay. I'm okay with variety, but I think it's important to note that that means we're going to get some bad maps here and there. Of course, that's subjective, which is kind of the reason why I feel like nobody's really shitting on the maps in this game, because there's a map design for everyone, you know? And that's the big positive I have to say about the maps in this game, is that although I would prefer if all of the maps were designed the way I like them designed, I gotta say, they're at least doing a design for everyone. And I really do feel like this is the case for this game. It feels like a third of the maps are Treyarch's design, another third of the maps are Infinity Ward's design, and another third of the maps are kind of like a mix of both, which is kind of like what Sledgehammer likes to do, especially like in World War II, which is what I felt like World War II was as well. World War II, I felt like so many maps were really, really good, and then some of them were so bad too. Like, it was such a weird mix of them. But again, some people might consider those maps that I consider to be bad to be the good ones, and then they might consider the maps that I think are good the bad ones. It's all subjective at the end of the day, and it allows people to kind of have a lot of different maps that they'll like, because there's 16 of them. You know, if there's only 8 maps, and then they had like, you know, 3 of them being the design I like and 3 of them being the other design and 2 of them being in between, well, then I wouldn't care as much, because I'd be like, oh, there's only 3 good maps in this game. Are you kidding me? But with how it is, I honestly feel like at least half of the maps are pretty good. The ones that I don't like are the ones that are designed more similarly to something like Modern Warfare 2019, And I'm not going to go in depth as to what those maps are. You can probably tell from just the game. It's usually the bigger maps, usually the more complex maps, the maps that don't really have a distinct structure to it. But the maps that are much smaller and much more traditional 3-lane are the ones I'm really enjoying and having a lot of fun with. So the maps, big positive. Can't really complain much about them there. Like I said, you're going to have bad maps in most CODs. It's just how it is. And I'm okay with that because I got to be fair. I got to be somewhat unbiased here and just kind of be unselfish and just appreciate the fact that there's maps for everyone in this game. So that's good. Next, let's talk about destruction. So destructible environments was something that people were kind of worried about. I never was, because I never really saw the issue with it. I thought if they overdid it, it would be a problem, but I don't really think they did. I think it really does add an extra layer of interesting map situations. Every map feels very different, not only in the layout, but also in terms of the destructible environments, because you can have interesting sight lines that are created through these destructible environments, and you kind of learn them. Like I was playing a map like Decoy, for example, and there's different walls that I didn't even know you can destroy right away, and when I found out you can destroy it, it added a really interesting sight line that I can kind of peek out and shoot people that were coming down this one lane, and I never knew it was there, and I had to like figure that out on my own. So I do like how there's things to learn on these maps. I prefer that over the maps just being overly complex in their layout like they were in Modern Warfare. I'd prefer there being, you know, interesting things with the destructible environments as opposed to with the layout, because the layout, I kind of like when it's more predictable because that creates better gameplay flow. But when you have unpredictable things like destructible environments, I just think that adds an extra learning curve, and it's not a random learning curve, because once you learn it, then you're like, oh, well, now I know how it works. It's not going to ruin the flow of gameplay, really, as long as you know it's there, but it takes time to learn, and there's still probably some destructible environment locations on some of these maps I don't even know exist, and that's cool. I do like that. I don't think it ruins anything about the game at all. Another great thing is the combat pacing feature. I said this was in the beta as well. It was one of the coolest features they added because I personally like the game being faster paced. Some people don't, and that gives people options. And that's why I think there's such a positive reception to this game, because most of the time on launch, all we have is 6v6. And let's be real here, people prefer faster paced game. They just do. I think most people do. There's definitely some people who don't, but most people do. And when you have those faster paced modes, it's going to make people more excited to play. You know, Cold War didn't add the 12v12 stuff until a bit later. Obviously, they had combined arms, but for like 12v12 on the small maps, they didn't start adding that till later. So we were just playing 6v6 at launch, and same thing for a lot of other Call of Duties. But with this, I've been like exclusively playing Blitz because I just like those higher kill matches. I don't really like going around the map and not finding somebody for like 10 minutes. I like having consistent action. It gets crazy. I think it's much better if the gameplay was different, and we'll talk about that in the negatives, but in terms of just general pace, I like it being as fast as it can, and I really do think that Blitz provides that really, really damn well. So combat pacing is a huge positive for this game. Another thing, the game just feels good. It's got a very solid movement to it, and I don't really think any COD recently has had bad movement. Like, everyone always talks about like Cold War, Modern Warfare. They're like, oh, Modern Warfare's movement is so much better than Cold War's. Cold War's is so much better than Modern Warfare. I don't notice a damn difference. Like, yeah, I think Modern Warfare is a little bit less fast. I could have just said slower. A little bit slower than Cold War's movement, but not by a lot. Like, I don't really notice that big of a difference between any of these games. They've all felt very smooth to me ever since Black Ops 3. I think every COD since then has had a smooth feel to it, and overall, you know, the hit markers and stuff, it all feels good. There's nothing that feels gross and clunky about any of these Call of Duties, and Vanguard definitely sticks with that. Vanguard feels good. It feels responsive. I don't really have much to complain about there when it comes to that. And the last positive that I really want to focus on, there's definitely more little things I can talk about, but character progression is really cool. I don't think it's that like deep as people are saying, but it definitely is something that's interesting because there's at least things to go for in terms of the different character customization options. You have different quips you can add to them. You have different like MVP moves, I guess, because they do that end game MVP screen where the character does like a little animation, and you can unlock these for free. There's not in the shop right now. I'm sure they're going to add shop things for this, and they're probably going to be much better than the stuff we currently have, but at least we have something to work for every operator, and there's like, what, 12 operators in the game, and there's something to go for all of them. So I'm having fun trying to level up these different operators, and they all have a final skin that you get at some certain level from, you know, leveling them up, and it looks pretty damn good. You also get more XP for a specific gun if you use that operator's favorite gun while being that operator, and that is really cool because it gets me to play as different operators. Normally, I'd pick one operator and usually keep that operator. I usually don't change them all that much in the prior CODs, but in this one, because of that favorite weapon thing, if I want to use a specific gun and I see that an operator has that as their favorite gun, I'm probably going to switch to that operator, even if it's an operator I don't usually use. So that is awesome. That is a great way to keep people using different skins so they're not using the same 2 skins every game like most people do for other games. I mean, how many times do you see a wood skin in Cold War, for example? Like, people want to use the cooler skins. You don't see Baker as often or some other characters. You know, they usually use the cool ones. That's only a problem at launch, though. Obviously, when you get later down the life cycle and there's like a million different skins, then everyone's using different things. But at least at launch, it is nice to see some variety in the characters people are choosing to play as. And I think the favorite gun thing definitely allows that to be the case. And now let's get into the bad. So a lot of these negatives are things that carried over from the beta. They're the same problems I had with the beta. Some of them were changed, but not enough to the point where it fixed the problem. The problem still exists, and a lot of things weren't even changed at all. And a lot of these things I don't expect to change, unfortunately, and I just think it's something I'm gonna have to deal with, which sucks because I would rather not deal with these things. And I think if all these things changed, or even just a few of these things, this could easily be a top 3 Call of Duty of all time, easily. But unfortunately, these things are probably not gonna change, so we're just gonna have to deal with it. First things first, the time to kill is too fast. I know most people think it's just fine. I know. Personally, I think Call of Duty is always going to benefit from a slower time to kill when it comes to the competitiveness, the skill that's needed to actually win gunfights, and overall the flow of the game is just much better when the time to kill is slower. I know not everyone agrees with that, and it really just depends what kind of a game you want. If you really want a more casual, laid-back experience where skill doesn't even matter at all, and the flow is kind of just random, just run into gunfights and just get shot or shoot other people or whatever it may be, that's fine if you prefer that. I don't, though, and that's why I prefer a slower time to kill. And I definitely think there's ways for them to kind of make everyone happy here, and I'm not sure if this would be possible, but like, they did the combat pacing filters, right? That is a huge positive because a lot of people prefer fast-paced gameplay, a lot of people prefer slow-paced gameplay, so it's nice to have those options. I think it would be really cool if they had another combat pacing, not a combat pacing, but like a just filter in general that changed the time to kill. Now, it'd be really hard to do this because you'd have to rework the weapons and how they work, but I think it could benefit the game greatly. I mean, they have hardcore mode, which goes in the opposite direction, of course, and makes it so the time to kill is incredibly fast, which I despise, which is why I don't play hardcore unless I'm going for camo challenges. But why not go the other way? Call of Duty Ghosts actually did that with a game mode called Heavy Duty. I think it'd be cool just to have a whole filter playlist of modes that are like that. You know, maybe call it, I don't know, competitive or something. Well, I guess that's league play, but just, I don't call it something different that alludes to it being more arena-based, like your traditional Treyarch Call of Duty, which tend to have these slower time to kills. I would play the shit out of that. I would only play that because I think this game, although the fast-paced modes are a lot of fun, I do still feel like there's not a lot of chances for gunfights. I feel like a lot of the times when I kill people, I'm decimating them. Like, look at the gameplay you're seeing. Like, I'm just decimating people with the MP40, for example, on Numa Numa. No one has any chance to fight back. I rarely have chances to fight back as well if I'm getting shot from behind. So all that does is it just makes it so I can't cross roads as easily. No one else can either. People are afraid to move as much, and when people do move, they're usually moving in like the really weird outskirt type areas. The good thing is at least the movement is fast, so at least people are more likely to. It's definitely more likely than Modern Warfare. It's definitely a slower time to kill than Modern Warfare. I'm not saying this is as bad as Modern Warfare's time to kill, but it's definitely still not what it should be. I know some people are saying the body time to kill is fine. It's the head multiplier that's the issue. Honestly, I'd like it just slower altogether. I know that's a preference, which is why I'm saying they could probably do something to make it everyone happy, but honestly, I just want this to be even just slightly changed. I would be happy because I want gunfights to exist. I want there to be a level of skill involved in the head-to-head gunfights, and also if you get shot from behind, you have a chance to actually fight back. So skill matters more than just, oh, he got a random shot on me from across the map just by chance. And what doesn't help is that there's a lot of attachments on this game that do crazy increased damages to the point where the time to kill becomes grossly fast. I mean, in the alpha of Vanguard, we were all kind of saying the time to kill feels just fine because we had armor plates and we didn't have crazy attachments on our guns yet. So that's why the time to kill felt fine there. And even the beta, we didn't unlock all these crazy attachments yet. So even then, people were like, oh, the time to kill's fine. I think people are going to start to realize that once you start using the really good attachments, Oh my god, the time to kill is instant. I mean, this MP40 class I have, people were getting demolished in like 3 shots. The time to kill is too fast. I'm just going to say it right then and there. Unless you prefer that really fast time to kill, sure, but I think it's too fast as is. The minimap is still a massive, massive L. Why not just go with the Cold War minimap? They went back with the Modern Warfare mechanics that the minimaps had, and I just did not like it at all for a lot of reasons. First of all, because they have this radar perk that gives you that minimap, that radar perk is a crutch perk for me now. I use radar on every single class, so that entire tier of perks is useless to me. It's just used for radar, and I know I don't have to use it, but it gives you a massive advantage. Like the perk balance here, which we'll talk about in a little bit, the perk balance is awful. Now, I don't think perk balance has really ever been that great in Call of Duty. There's only a few CODs where I think perk balance was actually good, but this is like some of the worst perk balance I've ever seen. I don't have any other perk to use in that tier because why would I? Radar is OP in comparison. If they just took out radar and just had it as a normal thing, I don't see how that would negatively impact the game at all. I think that would only positively impact it because now I have another option within my perks and everyone just has the radar perk there already and they can just, see red dots on the minimap like they usually do. I don't know why that's not a thing. I'm not going to stick on it for too long because I think you all kind of know why I have an issue with that. Next thing, kill streaks instead of score streaks. I talked about this way too much for the beta because it was one of my biggest complaints. And people are like, oh, they'll add a perk. They'll add a perk. Even if they added a perk, it would still not fix the issue. But they didn't even add a perk for it. There is no way to have score streaks in this game. There's just kill streaks. And I don't even care if they add a perk or not because I don't want them to add a perk. I want them to just make score streaks the default. I don't know why they think kill streaks is ever going to be a better option because nobody gives a living crap to play the objective when you have kill streaks. Nobody cares. I don't see a single person in my lobbies giving a shit about the objective. They might hop on it a little bit just to get some XP because we are at the levels now where you do want to level up faster because you want to get the new guns. But once you hit the Prestige 1, you don't ever lose your guns again with this new system of prestiging, with the seasonal prestiges. So people don't even care about XP anymore. And if you don't care about XP, you're not going to touch the objective because who the hell cares unless you have score streaks. I just don't get why they wouldn't include score streaks. I don't get it. It makes absolutely zero sense to me. It does not have to be Cold War's score streaks. You can literally just do traditional Black Ops 2 style score streaks. It's not that hard. It does not make it easier to get streaks. The streaks in this game are not hard to get as is if you're a decent player because the time to kill is so fast, and if you're on Blitz, you can just find a group of 6 guys, mow them down with an MP40, and you're already on a 6-kill streak. Like, it's not that hard to get streaks in this game. Score streaks would not make it any easier. It would just make it so people actually play the damn objective, and so the game is a little bit faster paced, and so streaks can actually wrap. It's so stupid how streaks can't wrap. I get on a 10-kill streak, I earn my dogs, I can't get them again in that life. I have to die before I get them again, and I find that to be kind of stupid. A lot of things that I don't like about the streak system, and you also can't use streaks within the same streak value, so you can't use a streak that costs the same as another streak, but with score streaks, that's never an issue. So many problems with the kill streaks in this game, and to add on to that, the kill streaks themselves aren't even that fun. These are some of the lamest kill streaks we've ever had. I love the dogs. I think they're cool. The bombing run is really useful. We don't even have a damn chopper gunner in this game. We don't even have a gunship of any sort. Every COD has had one since Modern Warfare 2. I can't think of a single COD that hasn't had something like that at launch. They'll probably add something for DLC, and if they do within like Season 1 or 2, it's whatever, but I really like my chopper gunners, and there's not a single one in this damn game. The highest streak right now is the advanced UAV, so I'm a little disappointed in that. The kill streaks in this game, the whole system, the kill streaks themselves, I'm just very disappointed. I wish there was more of them, I wish there was better ones as well, and I wish it was score streaks. So, this kill streaks, massive L. Now let's talk about the created class system. I despise the created class system in this game. I haven't liked the past 2 Call of Duty's class systems either. This one's definitely my least favorite out of all of them for a number of reasons. First of all, why can't we just have a pick 10/gunsmith hybrid? I don't get why we don't have that. It would give us so many more options, so much more variety in our class creation. I just think what they have now, it kind of forces you down a path. You're forced to use the same, 3 perks. Well, not the same, but you can use whatever you want. But personally, I feel like the perk balance is really bad to the point where I do use the same 3 ones, but you are forced to use 1 perk 1, 1 perk 2, 1 perk 3. You're forced to use lethals and tackles. You're forced to use a secondary. You're forced to use a primary, and you're forced to use all 10 attachments. Now, you can use less, but why the hell would you? Like, there's no reason, except for maybe 1 or 2 different spots where you wouldn't use an attachment, unless, of course, you don't have them all fully unlocked. But once you do, why wouldn't you use as many attachments as you can? I don't know, but I really just don't like how you're forced to use all these things. I would much prefer if it was like 5 attachments by default, and if you want more attachments, you have to get less of something else. Or if you want more perks, you have to get less of something else. Or if you want more attachments or more secondaries or whatever, maybe whatever you want, you can just do whatever the hell you want with your class, like you could with pick 10, but also have the same amount of attachments available like they do in Gunsmith. I don't know why they couldn't do that. It would make a lot more sense. It would give us more variety. And you know what this would also do? It would make it so grenade spam and equipment spam wouldn't be as bad. Equipment spam in this game is god awful, so bad to the point where I force myself to use flak jacket on every class, which is now taking up my tier 1 perk because I don't want to use any other perk in that, because that seems like the most necessary one, because grenades are literally being thrown every freaking where and they feel so overpowered. Either nerf the grenades, buff flak jacket, or just give us a better class system so people aren't using equipment as much and they're using more attachments or more perks or something else. Let people have options. I don't know why they're removing options. They make us think we're having more options because they throw all these attachments at us like, oh, look, we have 50 attachments. I would rather we actually have a system that's fully fleshed out and allows us to have more options within the class itself rather than just a million more attachments, when in reality, I don't use like 50% of the attachments because a lot of them are terrible. I mean, look at the attachments in this game. So many of them are so bad, and so many of them are also overpowered as hell. It's like, what is the balance there between those attachments? It is all over the place. It is not good as it currently is. I don't think it was all that good in Modern Warfare or Cold War either. I still use the same attachments on most guns, so having a bunch of attachments doesn't necessarily make the system automatically great, and you could still keep all those attachments while still giving us a pick 10-like system. It's not that difficult to do that, but unfortunately, they don't seem to care to do that. I would love that change, but I don't think people care as much as I do for some reason, but I think it would make a massive positive impact on the gameplay, because not only would variety be so much bigger in terms of class design, but also grenade spam wouldn't be as bad. We wouldn't see as many overpowered, class setups with guns that just have a million attachments. People would actually use less attachments every now and then because they might want to use, more perks or something. And the perk balance wouldn't be as big of a deal because you can actually, mix and match what perks you get rather than being forced to use just one of each. And as is, like I said, I'm using the same for every single damn class for all 3 perks. Personally, that's just how I'm doing it because I don't see why I would do anything else. No deaths being shown on the scoreboard in objective modes is so frustrating. I know they show it at the end of the game, but why not just show it throughout the whole game? I don't really get the point of that. I don't know if they do it so they expect people to play the objective more if they don't see their deaths. I don't know. But let me see my damn deaths mid-game. I don't like when I can't see that because then I just care less about my performance. And I'm just kind of like, whatever. Like, I just don't have as much of an, intrigue in the gameplay experience when I can't see my kills and deaths throughout the entire match. That's a nitpick, but still, it makes a bigger impact than I think most people realize. That's just something I'll throw in there. And last thing I want to talk about, the last big negative, is the ADS speeds and the sprint out speeds. They did change them. They did make them slightly faster than they were in the beta, which is good, but I still think they're too slow. I still feel like it's not as fast as it should be. Now, some attachments can obviously change that. Some attachments make it way worse. Some attachments make it way better. But as it currently is, I really don't think it's fast enough. I think I'm getting into way too many situations where I'm not pulling up my gun fast enough in order to shoot the person, even though I'm literally doing it instantaneously. And this isn't really a big deal when you have a slow time to kill, which is why I don't think I ever complained about this in Cold War, because Cold War's ADS speeds, I don't think were that different than they are in Vanguard, to be honest. But because you had a slower time to kill, it didn't matter as much because you had time to actually aim down sights, because they wouldn't, if they didn't have good accuracy, they wouldn't finish you off right away. But in this game, because you insta-die, it matters a lot. So aiming down sights fast is like the most important thing, and that's why my attachments, I literally make my attachments only do that as much as I can, but even then it still spits a bit slow, and I'm not a fan of how it is right now. I think they definitely need to increase it even more. And one more negative that I have is something that not everyone's going to experience, so I can't really say it's a big problem for the game in terms of everyone, but for me, it's really hurting the game. The fact that these guns, a lot of them don't work on my Xbox Elite controller with my trigger stops. This is a big problem because I can't even use this controller anymore, and I have to turn off my trigger stops. It's kind of annoying. It's a very like nitpicky issue, but this has never been a problem in any other Call of Duty other than Warzone, because Warzone's vehicles require you to turn off your trigger stops in order to drive the vehicles. That's the only time there's ever been an issue. Every other COD, they have taken into account trigger stops for scuffs and Xbox Elite controllers and all these different things because these controllers were made for Call of Duty specifically. I have to turn them off for most other games because most other games don't support it, which is completely fine, but Call of Duty has always supported it. And now they're just like, oh yeah, fuck you. And half the guns don't even work with the trigger stops. I'm like, what? Like, why did you guys just forget about the fact that you used to support these different controllers? Now you're just like, no, fuck you guys, use a normal controller. I'm assuming the reason why they did this is because this is like a next-gen game and it's made for PS5, and I don't even think PS5 has scuff controllers yet. I think they're adding them soon. So maybe they just forgot that people use trigger stops on a lot of their different weapons. I don't know. I like using the trigger stops. I think they make the game a lot more enjoyable and they just feel better. The guns feel better with trigger stops. But I can't even use them now because most guns don't even allow you to shoot the damn gun properly with it. You can if you like stick your finger into it like a motherfucker, but I'm not breaking my controller just to freaking shoot a damn gun. So it's really frustrating. I honestly just don't even use LMGs or snipers anymore because I want to use my trigger stops, but whenever I pick one up, I have to turn them off, and most controllers, it's not easy to turn them off either. Like mine, fortunately, it's easy to turn off, but for most controllers, it's not. Most controllers, you can't even turn them off. So if you have trigger stop controller, you're shit out of luck. You have to go buy a new controller that doesn't have them. Don't know why they wouldn't take that into account. I have no idea. I messed around in the settings with the dead zones. Didn't make a single difference. There's nothing I could change. The guns just don't work properly with trigger stops. They need to fix that, or I don't know. More people need to complain about it in order to get that out there, because I don't even think they know about that issue, to be honest. They probably don't even know about it, but it's just a big issue for me. And that's going to do it for this video. That's all the good and bad things about this game. There was a lot to talk about there. Holy shit. Definitely a lot more to talk about than what I was talking about in the beta, but I'm enjoying it. I think it's better than it was in the beta, but not by a lot. Like if I was to just throw out a rating, I'd probably give it like a 6.2 out of 10 or something. I don't know, which in comparison to other games, I probably gave like Modern Warfare like a 4 out of 10. And I'd probably give like Cold War like an 8 out of 10. So it's kind of just in between Modern Warfare and Cold War, really. Like it's pretty much dead between both of them. I like it a little bit more than Modern Warfare. I like it a little bit less than Cold War. It's I don't know. It is what it is. I'm enjoying it, but I don't think it's going to be a spectacular experience for me because of a lot of these issues. And I don't expect these issues to get changed, which is the unfortunate thing. But you never know. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'll see you on my next one. Peace out.